What's going on, Dolphins? It is your boy Dillon, and I am here to do a video regarding a couple things. First off, we are going to finalize the coaching staff. There were some things that happened yesterday. I didn't get to make a video yesterday. I was pretty busy. I actually, part of my day, I went out and took a nice bike ride, which I haven't done in a while, but I like going bike riding, so I took a bike ride yesterday. It was my workout for the day. And then, was just kind of busy with some other things as well. Didn't get to make a video. By the time I had some time, it was already too late in the day, so I figured I'd just make it today. And here we are. So there's a couple things that happened yesterday, including the finalizing of the Dolphins coaching staff. So we're going to take one final look at that now that it is complete. They made a couple hirings, including another one on the defensive side of the ball, which I'm sure you guys already know as of me making this video, but it's a hire that I really like. And I'm going to go a little bit more in depth and give you my full and final evaluation of the Dolphins coaching staff as it stands right now. Now, obviously, that evaluation can change one way or the other, depending on the results and the subsequent things that happen over the next few years, but what I think about it right now. So, and then there's also, the Dolphins also signed a couple players. So let's go ahead and jump right into it and take a look at all of this. So we'll start off with the players. First off, as you can see here, it was a tweet from the Dolphins yesterday. They put out, we have signed defensive end Deshaun Hall and fullback John Lovett. So they are bringing a fullback onto the roster. And so let's go ahead and take a look at these guys. We'll start off with the fullback that they signed. Dolphins signed former Packers and Chiefs fullback John Lovett. Obviously, that Mike McDaniel and, John Embry and Wes Welker and, we'll get to all these guys in a minute, but a lot of these guys have, running in their resume, and obviously, which is great because I would love to finally see the Dolphins be a run, not necessarily heavy, but run first team for sure, because that will definitely give Tua, this offensive line, and this offense in general a much better chance. But anyway, so let's take a look at this. With the hiring of new head coach Mike McDaniel, everyone knew the team's offensive scheme would change, and the biggest change that would be coming was the likely addition of a fullback, because they're going to be, a lot more focused on the run game. On Friday, the Miami Dolphins added one as they signed former Green Bay Packers and Kansas City Chiefs fullback John Lovett, according to ESPN's Adam Schefter. Lovett was signed by the Chiefs as an undrafted free agent in 2019 after playing at Princeton and earning the award for the top offensive player in the Ivy League twice. He missed all of his rookie season due to being placed on injured reserve before the season began and was waived prior to the start of 2020 training camp. So his college career went well, didn't start off so well here in the pros. Let's see how it'll pan out, right? The Packers claimed Lovett, and he bounced back and forth from the practice squad to the active roster before suffering a torn ACL in November. So he's got some injuries stacking up that are pretty severe. Let's see if he can overcome them. He recorded 3 receptions for 6 yards in 8 games played in 2020. Lovett was waived in March of 2021 due to a failed physical and didn't sign with another team. McDaniel's offense relies heavily on the usage of fullbacks, so it was only a matter of time before they added one. In San Francisco, the Niners used Kyle Juszczyk in many ways, as he proved to be a great blocker and reliable in the receiving game. That may be asking a lot of Lovett, but they will likely bring in multiple guys to compete for the job in training camp. So again, as I would usually say with a signing like this, it's a nobody, but it's not surprising that they're bringing in a fullback because of the type of scheme that they want to use. And like the Mike Masala said, the writer here at the very end, they're probably going to bring in, a handful of guys that will be able to play that role. And, obviously the Dolphins have used Christian Wilkins in that role in the past, and maybe, there'll be some fancy shit with that. But my guess is they're actually going to do the smart thing and the right thing, because I actually, not that I necessarily have a problem with it, but especially before last season, before Christian Wilkins really started to break through in his performance on the field, and he still definitely has a ways to go and things to work on and get better at, but he definitely had a career year last year in my mind. But before that, when he wasn't living up to his first round potential at all, or first round taking at all, position, right? His first round position at all. You know, I'm like, why are you even using this guy on offense when you can't even get what you need out of him on defense, right? So, and if you want to use a full, especially too, because in 2019 in particular, they had, and actually part of 2020, because they didn't cut him until, or no, I think he was actually with the team for most of 2020. I think they officially cut him just after January or something like that of the 2021 calendar year. But they had Chandler Cox, who they drafted for that role, and they weren't using him at all. Instead, they were putting Christian Wilkins there, right? So my guess is that this regime, or rather this coaching staff, is actually going to do things smart and find a fucking fullback. If you want to use a fucking fullback, they're actually going to find one that can do the damn job, and then that way Christian Wilkins can stay where he is to focus on his craft and getting better and living up. Because, again, Christian Wilkins, to me, was always at best a second round draft selection. I didn't think they should have taken him into the first round, but as he's developed and finally broke through last year, I said that he's worked his way up to the top of the second round and even into the back end of the first round. I still don't think he's worth the, you know, whatever it was like 13 or 18 or something like that. I can't remember off the top of my head right now, but whatever pick we picked him at, he still hasn't quite lived up to that. He needs to improve on his pass rushing repertoire a little bit more. He's been great now in the run, but he does need to take another step in the pass rushing game, as that is one of those, you know, top interior defensive linemen on this team. So he still has a little bit to go to earn that, but he's getting there. So, you know, let him hone in on his craft and let him earn that fucking spot, right? So, and let him get better and actually get a fullback. So, you know, will this guy in particular pan out? I don't know. He's got some injury issues to overcome. He hasn't really done anything in the NFL, you know, and it ended at college, his success. So we'll see if they're, you know, if the Dolphins can get anything out of him. But I do actually like the idea that, one, they are going to be focusing on the run game a lot more, which the Dolphins haven't done in so long. And two, you know, they're actually going to bring in guys that are fucking fullbacks and, you know, guys who are actually, you know, made to do that job, right? Or that is their job. That's their position. That instead of using a defensive tackle, right? So we'll see how it plays out. Anyway, and that will move us on to the next guy that the Dolphins signed. As you can see, another 49ers player, defensive end Deshaun Hall, because they just signed that wide receiver too the other day, which I had mentioned in one of my videos. So now, real quick, a little bit about this potentially worries me because of some things that I'm going to talk about with the coaching staff here in a minute. But bringing in now, you know, just simply bringing in guys at the defensive end position doesn't necessarily mean you're going to lose like an Emmanuel Ogbah. But in my opinion, the Dolphins need to find a way to sign him among some other guys. Because they just can't afford to lose, especially on the defensive side of the ball. They can't afford to lose prominent players, right? Important players. But there is some chance that Ogbah doesn't want to be here anymore. So, which would be highly unfortunate. But anyway, they do bring in a defensive end. The Miami Dolphins have been one of the more active teams in the early part of the offseason, despite spending time putting their coaching staff together under head coach Mike McDaniel. Well, they did just finalize it yesterday, so now they can get going. On Friday, the team announced that they had signed defensive and Deshaun Hall, who had most recently spent time with McDaniel's former team in San Francisco. Hall was a third-round pick of the Carolina Panthers in 2017. After a decent four-year career at Texas A&M, he played in just one game with Carolina before being placed on injured reserve in October to end his rookie season. So more injuries, so not necessarily good there, but right now just a camp body. So we'll see, right? We'll just see how it plays out. Hall was waived after just one season. Since then, he's bounced around from San Francisco to Houston to Philly and to New York before winding up back in San Francisco. He appeared in just 12 games during that time and hasn't stepped on the field during the regular season since 2019. It's unlikely that this will end up as a huge impact signing, but the 26-year-old could have a chance to fight for a spot when training camp comes around. So there you have it again. another basically nobody who's just going to be a camp body. And, we'll see if the Dolphins can get anything out of him and he could be a contributor or even make it on the roster, right? So there you have it. And that is all the signing stuff. It was just the two guys. So I am going to have to update my, current roster, which, I will do. I mean, it's not so big as important until I actually start making these videos for the breakdown of the positions. But they've already started making moves. And so now we are in full off-season mode. And it's exciting. Let's see what happens. I'm waiting to see how they shape this team. I think, again, I'm cautiously optimistic, but this is the most optimistic that I've been for an off-season in a long time. So let's see how it goes, and let's go ahead and wrap this up with taking a look at, I don't know if you guys can see this all that well. It may be kind of small for you guys, but I retweeted this out. Cameron Wolf and multiple people had tweeted out. I retweeted Cameron Wolf's. And so here is the Dolphins coaching staff after they made a couple more additions yesterday. So the Miami Dolphins today announced head coach Mike McDaniel's coaching staff for the 2022 season. So real quick, Mike McDaniel, I've told you, I think, in a number of different ways is an upgrade over Brian Flores. He's not the big, which, by the way, Flores actually got hired to an NFL team today as a senior defensive assistant with the Pittsburgh Steelers. So that's interesting. But anyway, I think he's a head and shoulders above Brian Flores because I think he's not the big egotistical asshole. I think he's going to be able to manage the personalities in the locker room. I think that his offensive coaching staff is actually fucking phenomenal. I'm not as excited about the defense, but we'll get to that. I think he's going to obviously prioritize the offensive line in the run game, which I think is a massive step up over Flores. He's not going to be sabotaging Tua, but trying to put him in position to succeed, right? So I think across the board, and I think that also the fact that he is aware of, his limitations or deficiencies, his flaws on the other side of the ball is great. And he is trying to bring in guys who have knowledge. And a couple of the signings, even though I'm not super psyched about the defensive staff as a whole, and in particular, a couple guys, which we'll talk about, like, bro, a couple of these signings I think are phenomenal on the defensive side. So Mike McDaniel, head and shoulders, way above Brian Flores. That's an upgrade. All right, now let's move on. Frank Smith, offensive coordinator. From what I see about him and what I've read about him, I don't think he could be any worse than what we've had the past couple years. So I'm interested and I'm ready to give him a shot. And we'll see how it turns out. And again, cautiously optimistic, right? But at the end of the day, again, we know that Mike McDaniel is expected to call the plays. He's just going to be the offensive coordinator. He's going to help with the game plans, and he's got run game and offensive line in his background. So there are multiple coaches that have that. So theoretically speaking, we've got a ton of experience that can help reshape that offensive line in particular and the offense as a whole. So I love it. And he's got my support. Matt Applebaum, he hasn't done a lot in the NFL, but I do like his resume from college as the offensive line coach, and it's got to be better than what we've had so far. Although, if you see, they did keep Lemuel Jean-Pierre as an assistant offensive line coach, which I don't totally hate, just from the perspective of he does have familiarity with these guys, and maybe he could actually learn how to do things right from a guy like Matt Applebaum, who has had success and has, shown to be able to develop offensive linemen, even if it was at college. Mostly at the college level. He has shown the ability to do so. So it'll be interesting that he remains here, but he's not the main guy, so that's really all I care about. I'm ready to see what Matt Applebaum can do. Darrell Bevell as the quarterback's passing game coordinator. I loved that hire. I thought that was phenomenal. Same with John Embry, assistant head coach and tight ends. I think that these guys, and, obviously a lot of these guys do have familiarity with Mike McDaniel, so they already have relationships, which is a good thing, at least when it comes to streamlining the implementation of all of this, right? So, I love it, bro. Like, I honestly, the way that the offensive coaching staff has come together. Now, Josh Grizzard, I would have been all right with him going, as well as, Lemuel Jean-Pierre. But since he's just a quality control coach, and since these guys are just lower assistants, that's not really that big of a deal. Fine, have him there to, like, just, they're going to, whatever, bro. Like, the head coach and the offensive coordinator and the main position coaches, they're like, these guys are like their assistants. So, all right, cool, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Chandler Henley, assistant quarterbacks coach. Okay. Obviously Darrell Bevel's going to be the main guy there. So, but a lot of these guys, I don't know a lot about, and just what I've read and gone through on here and stuff like that. But I'm willing to give him, a chance, and I do like some of these guys' resumes, and some of these younger assistants under like a Darrell Bevel and Frank Smith, Mike McDaniels. I think these guys can learn a lot, and I do think that they have, at least enough veteran guys, some of these guys at the top that do have enough years and enough experience and have been around different teams and schemes and organizations. I think that it has a high enough probability to go in the right direction. And so I am, Mike Person, his last name is Person, as another offensive assistant. I like where they've gone and how they're doing this. So Aldrick Robinson, offensive assistant. Colby Smith. I got to keep it real. Like, a couple of these, I didn't even see them announce any of these, or I didn't even see stories about like Mike Person or Aldrick Robinson. Eric Studesville going back to running backs coach primarily, although he's an associate head coach. I'm all right with that. I like him primarily working with the running backs. I can fuck with that. And Wes Welker I love as our wide receivers coach. So I love how the offensive side of the ball turned out as far as the coaching staff goes. Now let's break into the defensive side. So Josh Boyer, defensive coordinator. Look, I've always said last year that the defense and how they played was 100% on Brian Flores, whether he was calling the plays or not. Even if Boyer was calling the plays, he never should have let the fucking 1-7 happen and the defensive performance bottom of the league happen. That's 100% on Brian Flores. I think he let it happen on purpose because he was trying to hold the team back in order to sabotage Tua. So, I don't really put that on Boyer, and I think that he does know how to run this defense, and so I don't mind it. But as I said originally, for me, it's either blow the whole defensive side up and let Mike McDaniel bring in all his guys, or keep the entire thing, especially because I didn't want them to let Gerald Alexander go, for example, but they ended up doing that. Now, it also seems, though, one of the issues I have with it, though, is it seems that behind the scenes, it is causing a rift between, some of the players and this organization and coaching staff. And prominent players are rumored to not want to be here anymore because of it, and they don't like Boyer being retained as the defensive coordinator. And if we lose some of those guys, that will be huge, and that will have a major impact on the defense. And while the offense may take a step forward and is trying to improve and get better, and there is reason and optimism to believe they can, the defense could take, some pretty significant steps backward. And that's even if they still run the schemes exactly the same way that they've had success the past couple years, right? Even if they remain aggressive and employ that type of, defense with the Ruby packages, diamond packages, etc., like, it still could take a step backwards. So I'm concerned about that, but we'll see how that plays out. I mean, a lot of life is, we'll see how it plays out. Mathau, man, I'm so sorry, dude. Araujo, assistant defensive backs. Again, another guy I didn't even see anything come out about him. Anthony Campanile's linebackers. Okay. Austin Clark, defensive line. He's, he got retained. I don't mind that. Steve Ferentz, assistant linebackers. Okay. Steve Gregory at safeties. Derek LeBlanc, assistant defensive line. Sam Madison, cornerbacks and pass game specialist. We fucking love it. So I love the offensive side of the ball, and there were a couple hires on the defensive side that I love. Sam Madison being one of them. Ty McKenzie, outside linebackers, all right. Ryan Slowick, senior defensive assistant, cool. And Patrick Surtain, they fucking signed Pat Surtain yesterday, baby, which is beautiful, as another defensive assistant, particularly in the secondary. So love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. With Pat Surtain and Sam Madison, I'm skeptical overall and have some concerns with the defensive staff and some of the resounding implications that it will have throughout the locker room. But we'll see how it plays out. Danny Crossman, our special teams kind of sucked last year, so retaining him I wasn't super excited about, especially because it seems that he's on the side of the coaching battle, because it was Flores and Alexander apparently versus Boyer and Crossman, and obviously Flores and Alexander are gone, but some of the prominent players don't like that Boyer's the defensive coordinator still, and so they're probably not super excited with Danny Crossman either, and our special teams was not very good last year, so, you know, I don't love that. I don't love that they brought him back, but, you know, it is what it is. And then Brandon Farrell, assistant special teams. I don't really know anything about him. Dave Paloka, I mean, he's been here for a long time as our head strength and conditioning coach. I don't have a problem with him. Dolphins fans find problems with him when, you know, we have injuries and stuff like that, but whatever, bro. And anyway, and this last little bit though, McDaniel's staff includes more than 300 years of coaching experience, including 183 years at the NFL level. Obviously, that's each person's individual years combined into one, right? They just add them all up. 12 of the team's coaches are returning to the Dolphins in the same or similar role. The staff is highlighted by 3 former Dolphin players, all of whom played together in the 2004 Dolphins team. Those 3 will become the 12th, 13th, and 14th former Dolphins players to also coach for the team. Obviously, that's Wes Welker for wide receivers, Sam Madison, cornerbacks, pass game specialist, and Pat Surtain, defensive assistant. I love those 3 guys being here, bro. Like, look, I still have my reservations and my cautions with this Dolphins organization as a whole, being able to overcome the toxicity, the drama, etc., etc. But when it comes to the coaching staff, and I have some concerns on that defensive side and on special teams, and I'm always going to keep it real with you guys and talk about that. But overall, bro, I do really like the coaching staff. I think overall it's a lot better than what we ever saw with Brian Flores, particularly on the offensive side of the ball. But even on the defensive side, there are those couple guys that are huge bright spots, former Dolphins players, and you love to see it, bro. Like, and I said this the other day too, and it was before Pat Surtain got hired. If any of these other guys have interest, like Richmond Webb or Jason Taylor or Zach Thomas or any of these guys, bro, like prominent Dolphins players of the past, I would love to see them take more of a fucking role with this team and be coaches. Or, for example, we talked about in a video the other day about how Brady might, you know, potentially become a part owner and have some say and sway with this Dolphins organization should Stephen Ross end up having to sell the team, which I actually would love. But also I would then, if that happens, like to see Dan Marino have more of a say and a more prominent role, right? So, and maybe even become part of that ownership group that, you know, has a sway on this team. So, and if that happens, bro, and you like take Ross out of the equation, even if he remains the owner, but like, you know, he's not really running things anymore because we got all these like former players that are basically just taking over the fucking ship. Like, I mean, honestly, bro, like, best fucking thing that could happen to the Dolphins, really. So, like I said, there is room for optimism. They still got a lot to prove over the next few years, this year being the first one. So, let's see how it plays out and everything. But I am cautiously optimistic. And certainly, I will say, though, that, you know, inching little by little every day with each additional piece of news, overall, I'm getting a little bit more excited for it. Again, I still have some concerns, but, you know, I'm pumped, man, and let's see how things go, especially because I am expecting to go to the draft live this year. So I'm really, really super excited about that, and I'm really super excited to see what they do, man. Yeah, so anyway, let me go ahead and wrap the video up. That is all I got for you guys today. So before I get out of here, make sure you check out the Rave On Sports App, the new fan-driven sports app for all of your sports, whether it be basketball, baseball, football, college, whatever you like, they got it, and they are looking to enhance your game day experience with live play-by-play coverage, live chats with other fans and content creators like myself, while also providing you with an arena to dispute the terrible officiating. And so make sure you look for the links to that in the description box. And with that, I'm going to get out of here. I hope you guys appreciate my perspective. If you do, make sure you hit the subscribe button, make sure you hit the like button, make sure you hit the bell if you want to get the alerts. Share my channel and videos with your friends and family. Leave your questions, comments, and concerns down in the comments section. And of course, as always, follow me on Twitter at DillonTartaro, as well as on Instagram at Dolphins_with_Dillon. And with that, I am out. I'll see y'all soon. Fins up.
7 seconds left. Tannehill will throw it. And this will end it after the shovel. Will it? Miami running around. Short quick. There you go. Gronkowski. Did not be able to go. Touchdown. Daniels Ray. Oh, miracle. Miraculous in Miami. Stills to Parker to Drake. And they held off the field. Unimaginable what has taken place here in South Florida. The Dolphins have done it. They keep their season alive. 69 yards. Wow. Pure joy. Miami wins it.